Hey guys, it's Ornlu, and when this video comes out, it's actually going to be my birthday, so I thought, okay, what better way to celebrate my birthday than my very favorite thing in AoE2, and that is, of course, booming. So we're just going to do an eco bonus economy tier list thingy. So yeah, gonna go through all of the civs in the game and sort of rate how their eco bonuses, compare to one another, and just sort of talk about how they play out in an actual game. So just before I start, obviously, this is all just my opinion, man. There's no, one correct answer for all of this. Everyone is going to have their own slightly different take. But with that said, I'll do, my best to justify my decisions. And the other caveat is that I will only be talking about land maps, so no water involved, because once you add the option of water, then things get really complicated, because then civs that have, farming bonuses, like Franks or Slavs, suddenly become less good. Whereas, civs that have fishing bonuses, like Japanese, suddenly become better, so we're just going to go ahead and shelf that part of the game, and instead just talk about, okay, your sort of regular type of map. And I guess the other thing is I should explain what I consider to be an eco bonus. So, obviously, there are some exceptions, but in general, eco bonuses come in the form of, one, faster working villagers on some resource, or anything like that. So faster working villagers in some capacity, anything that really benefits your town center and or aging up, free resources of any kind, any sort of benefit to your ecotechs, whether they be cheaper or what else. And then there's a bunch of other little associated eco bonuses and stuff like that. And some stuff that I don't consider eco bonuses would be military discounts, because those only impact, your army if you're going for a specific strategy, so that they don't really help you boom in any sort of scenario. And then free military tax, again, not really. So, you can construe it as an eco bonus because it saves you resources when going for a specific strategy, but in that case, everything in the game is an eco bonus, and then the whole framework that we're trying to create just doesn't really mean anything. So with that in mind, you have the tiers. S tier, obviously, the best eco bonuses in the game. These are civilizations that are very much defined by their economic bonuses. A tier, civs that have very strong economies. There's going to be a lot of civs here, but it's not okay, they are the eco civs. B tiers are civs that have just good solid eco bonuses. Not really anything that will knock your proverbial socks off, but also not bad. C tier civs that have very minor eco bonuses that can be helpful a little bit, but it's not really going to be a big strength of the civilization. And then D tier, there are a few civs that just don't really have any eco bonuses. But I have been rambling long enough as is, so let's get into this. Also, I'm not going to differentiate within the tiers, because then you're splitting hairs. But Aztecs, they're going to be going right into the A tier. When you're talking about eco bonuses with this civ, the big one is going to be your villagers and their extra carry capacity. But you also will start with plus 50 gold, which can be nice. But yeah, the Aztec carry capacity, there we go, can I talk, did just get nerfed not too long ago. So your farm rate isn't as good, but even so, oh yeah, you also have the relic, faster, more gold collection from relics, which is really, really handy to have on maps like Arena and whatnot, but obviously that's more of a mid-game thing. But yeah, Aztecs, having a better farmers, really, really good, just strong eco in general. It's not quite S tier, I would say, because you're not usually overwhelming your enemies with your economy. Usually with Aztecs, it's a case of having a very strong economy and also a very cheap military. So it's, it's a combination of those things, but I still wouldn't put Aztecs in anything below A tier. Berbers, gonna unfortunately be D tier. That's not to say that Berbers aren't a great civ, because they certainly are, but faster moving villagers is the only thing that can be considered an eco bonus, and in reality, it's more of a defensive bonus. You might think, oh, it really helps your farm rate. It doesn't. Well, I mean, it does, but it's 2 or 3%, so it's not really noticeable. And you just really can't compare it to any of the other eco bonuses in the game. It's just not much of an improvement in that regard. Your big, things you have going for you with Berbers are, the cheaper cavalry, faster moving ships, but talking about land maps, but yeah, broad tech tree, all that stuff. Good civ, not really much of an eco civ, I guess. Britons, A tier, once again, you have 2 eco bonuses, one to help you in the Dark Age with your faster working shepherds, and then once again in Castle Age you'll have your cheaper town centers on the wood cost. Very, very strong. You can really plop down a ton of TCs with Britons, get your eco up and running. Not quite S tier because you don't really have anything that's super persistent throughout an entire game, but it's more about getting these sorts of early power spikes that Britons are so good at and what makes them a very strong civ on, well, a ton of different map types. So yeah, Britons, really good eco, not quite at that S tier again. Bulgarians, C tier, they get town centers that cost minus 50% stone, so they cost 50 stone, and it is an eco bonus. You can add 4 extra TCs without having to mine any, extra stone, and that's nice. It's something, but it's not really that great. It's the bare minimum of what you could consider an actual eco bonus. It is nice that you can drop a defensive watchtower in Feudal Age and still have enough stone for a town center and still have even a little bit of stone left over to repair. But yeah, that's like a very sort of minor thing, and they're not really something that you would consider an eco powerhouse. Oh, by the way, I'm using this tier list because I like it. I like that it has the civ emblems, but also it says what the civs are, so you can sort of read it. But unfortunately, it does not include Burgundians and Sicilians, because it was made before then. But don't worry, I'm going to do some Ornlu editing magic, and I'll put them in at the end of the video. So just, hold the phone when it comes to Burgundians and Sicilians. Alright, next we have Burmese, and they're going to be our first B-tier civ in the booming department. Pretty much all you have is free lumber camp upgrades, and that's nice. Like, don't get me wrong, it's certainly, it's better than a C-tier bonus, but not quite as good as an A-tier bonus. Kind of in the middle. It's very helpful, especially when it comes to early, men-at-arm aggression, because double bit axe is such an important upgrade, and Burmese, get the extra attack on their infantry, so you're sort of already leaning in that men-at-arm direction on, open maps. And just having the resources that you don't have to worry about for double bit axe is very handy. Maybe you can even afford horse collar more easily or heavy plow faster in Castle Age. Stuff like that. It's a solid eco bonus, but nothing too crazy. I guess you also see the relic positions, but that's not too huge. Byzantines, D tier. Unless you're gonna go for a fast imp into guilds, crop rotation, yeah, it's not an eco bonus. They just don't really have an eco bonus. They have a lot of different very useful defensive bonuses, but nothing that can really be seen as like an eco bonus. But that's not really the point of the civ, right? It's still super good, but it doesn't approach the game in the same way as, a ton of other civs in the game. So you're really trying to rely on those cheaper trash units, but that doesn't really help you if you're like Pocket Black Forest or something like that. So, yeah, not really much of an eco civ. Celts, A tier. You have one of the most generally applicable eco bonuses in the game. Lumberjacks work 15% faster. If your strategy involves collecting a lot of wood, it's good. Which is every strategy on every single map. So yeah, it's just such a solid eco bonus, but it's not really quite enough to be S tier because it's not like the economy of Celts is very, very good, but it's not one of those civs that's like, oh man, this is like a top tier eco and your other civs are going to have a hard time keeping up with that. Like, it's good, it's strong, but it's not overbearing, I guess. Speaking of which, Chinese, S tier easily. You have 3 eco bonuses. You start with extra villagers, and in most scenarios, if you are, a decent player, you'll be able to get a good advantage, usually like 2 villagers, maybe a villager plus loom if you're not having the greatest start ever, but it's still really good. 2, cheaper tax. That applies to your eco tax, so it's really helpful in that regard. And then 3, your team bonus, your farms providing 45 more food. Also good, it delays having to build more farms. So yeah, Chinese, really, really top tier eco. And it's a civ that, again, is very much revolving around utilizing that strong economy and that broad tech tree to get a huge advantage. It's why they're very much like a top tier pick on almost every single map. And, some people say they're overpowered. I'm not going to get into that there. It's just a really good civ when it comes to economy and just being able to play a ton of different strategies super well. Next is humans. This is a weird one, but I am going to put it in S tier. Now, the thing is, if you don't go for that specific 2TC and feudal age strategy, then your eco isn't, it's in fact like D tier. But I'm going to think of it in a situation where you are able to get that 2TC boom a-runnin', and in that situation, you really do have like one of the very best economies in the game. Just having 2TCs that early on, you can get your early eco upgrades as well. Just fly ahead of almost every other civ in the game, and you need to have another S tier civ economically to really keep up with that. Humans, they have a lot of issues, and there are a lot of situations on open maps, especially where you cannot go for the 2TCs, but if you're playing a closed map, then, boom your little heart out, and it's just absolutely insane. You'll have so many more resources than most other civs, and they still do have a super strong eco. Ethiopians, C tier. Plus 100 food and gold upon reaching the next stage is pretty much all you have. And it can be nice in getting a nice quick castle age time, because say you're playing arena or something, you want to go fast castle. You don't need to mine any gold, and then it can maybe click up a little bit earlier since you don't need as much food. But that's really it. There's nothing more like persistent you have going for you. And yeah, it's not like the greatest eco bonus ever. Ethiopians very much a civ that's defined much more by their military than their economy. But it is an eco bonus, and it can be helpful, so it's definitely more than D tier. Franks, A tier. Yeah. So you have a couple eco bonuses here. You have your foragers working plus 25% faster, or no, that was nerfed to 20%. Yeah, I think. Your foragers work faster, and then you also have the farm upgrades for free. So if Burmese, B tier, they only have the wood upgrades for free. Franks get the farm upgrades for free and have the forager bonus. They're just such a smooth civ to play. You have the farming bonus helps you in early to mid game, and then the foragers helps you in dark age, and also they become super good on any map that has a ton of forage bushes, like say Salt Marsh. Yeah, just a really smooth civ economically. Again, you're not really talking about an S tier eco, but Franks are going to be having, a good eco in most scenarios. You can see that these civs, with the exception of humans, are very much like your very popular meta civs, and that's, obviously for a reason, right? They have very good economies. Humans are just weird. Goths. C tier. The boar bonus aside, which is kind of weird and not necessarily a bonus in a lot of situations, you do have the loom upgrade that researches instantly. I still think that's kind of a weird bonus, but whatever. When you click up to feudal age on any sort of open map, you're essentially getting one more villager, and that is nice. It's a nice little bonus. Unfortunately, it doesn't help you on any sort of closed map when you're not getting loom super early. So that's less than great, but still, open maps are a massive part of Age of Empires. They're probably the largest aspect of Age of Empires, whether it be 1v1s or team games. So yeah. Still, getting a free villager when you're clicking up to feudal age, you can click up on, say, 23 pop and still get to feudal age at the same time who goes up on 22 pop. You guys know what I mean. It's a nice little bonus, nothing too crazy. Goths, obviously much more about the infantry spam. Huns, A tier. You start with minus 100 wood, but do not need to build houses. That saves you a lot of wood throughout the early to mid game. And it just means it's just so smooth playing Huns. You don't have to worry about the villager time building houses. You're probably having a lot less idle time because you're never housed. Because unless you're a super amazing player, you're getting housed a lot. And even then, you could be MBL or Viper and get housed a lot anyway. But yeah, it's just a very strong eco bonus. Again, not quite that S tier level, but you're still going to be... You're looking at those A tier civs and you're thinking, okay, I have a very strong eco. I'm feeling good about it. Incas have like a lot of little eco bonuses, but yeah, they're still gonna sort of end up in C tier. Not really the eco powerhouse civ, especially compared to the other two American civs. But you still do have stuff. You start with the free llama, which means that if you're late in finding your early sheep, you're always going to have that very consistent early game. On top of that, you have your houses that give you more population space. Again, it's a nice little bit of saving. And then, of course, you have the farms that build twice as fast. Obviously, overwhelming. Honestly, why am I not putting them in S tier? SMH, no. C tier. C tier civs, all about like these little eco bonuses that are nice to have, but certainly not going to be a defining point of the civilization in most games. Indians, A tier. So Indians, cheaper villagers. Also, you have sultans, but that's like late Castle Age onward. Also, I'm sorry if I miss an eco bonus, but chances are I'm probably not missing a major eco bonus. But yeah, sultans, not usually something you need to worry about too much. Mostly all about the cheaper villagers. And it's good. It's a really good eco bonus. You're more easily able to afford doing anything while also sustaining constant villager production. Indians are a civ that you're likely going to have lower idle TC time on average because you're just not, terrified for running out of food and all that stuff. However, it doesn't actually get you more resources faster. It saves you some food, but it's not like you're getting more resources more quickly, because most civs are still able to, constantly sustain villager production, especially any of the A tier and S tier civs. So I can't really justify putting it in S tier. Maybe, you can use it to drop another town center a bit earlier and still be able to sustain villager production. But as I say on my stream all the time, Indians are all about being able to go for army and eco at the same time because you have the cheaper food costing villagers, and it's really helpful in that regard. So definitely solid A tier entry, but not quite S tier. Italians, C tier. All you have going for you on land maps is the cheaper aging up, which, it's something. Again, it can be nice. It can maybe give you a bit of a faster castle age time or something like that. But still not that great, all things considered. If this was, of course, including water maps, then you're jumping up to A tier probably. But we are not doing that because that gets too confusing. So C tier it is for them. Japanese, another civ that if this was water, you'd be up in S tier. But no, they're going to be in B tier. On land maps, all you have are the resource drop-off sites costing minus 50% wood. And that is really nice. It gives you a ton of wood savings early on, and you can easily drop a couple farms in Dark Age while still going for a men-at-arm rush or something like that. But it just doesn't really help you past early game, because once you get to mid-game, the 100 wood that you would spend on a lumber camp or mill or whatever just isn't that valuable. But in early game, it can just be so nice when it comes to those wood savings. So we're going to finally have another B tier civ to join Burmese. Khmer, easy S tier. Khmer, one of the very, very, very best economies in the entire game. You have two main eco bonuses. One, not needing to build buildings to get to other buildings or to advance in age. And of course, you have the farmers that use their teleporting skills to instantly put food into your stockpile. And these two bonuses work together, meaning that Khmer, you can click up to Castle Age super fast because you don't need to worry about having to build a blacksmith and market in Feudal Age. And then you can just, you drop your farms even more quickly, your food income comes in constantly, and it's just such an insane civ when it comes to booming, and that's why late game Hussar spam with the civ is just so strong. And, not relevant for this tier list, but the fact that the Khmer army tends to be very food heavy to begin with is also very nice that you have such a strong food bonus. So, nice for Khmer, definitely going to be an S tier civ for sure. Koreans, D tier. The only thing that you can consider to be an eco bonus is that your stone miners work 20% faster. That's not really all that helpful. Yeah. You're adding, if you're, going for 3 TC boom, then that doesn't help you at all. Maybe you can add that 4th TC a little bit faster, but I mean, you're really stretching at that point. Koreans about, very strong defenses. You have the cheaper wood cost on your units, and then the free archer armor upgrades. They're a good civ, right? But they're just not an economic powerhouse. At least not until the 1980s. Cap. Lithuanians, B tier. If we're talking hybrid maps or maybe even water maps, then you jump up to S tier. But land maps, B tier, you start with plus 150 food and that's it. That's still pretty darn good. You can click up to Castle Age on even 24 pop or click up to feudal age on 24 pop, and then castle age then on 26 pop. It can be very helpful in that regard. You can maybe even go for like a very quick feudal age and then get those eco upgrades nice and quickly. It's a nice little boost to your your early game. I do think it is a bit more impactful than maybe the Ethiopian bonus because it comes in like from the second the game starts, so you can click up to like even feudal age faster if you wanted to go for that thing. So I think it's just a little bit better than the Ethiopian bonus or the Italian bonus, but still not really quite A tier. Probably borderline with C tier, but I think that it's useful enough in enough different scenarios that you can also justify B tier. Oh yeah, also it means that you have almost zero idle TC time in early game because you have so much extra food. And that's certainly something that is not worth... You don't want to ignore that. Magyars, D tier, they don't have an eco bonus. Again, still a good civ in a lot of different scenarios, but you don't have an eco bonus. Villagers killing wolves in one strike, that's not much of an eco bonus. Cheaper scouts and free foraging, those are nice military bonuses, but again, that's not what I would call an eco bonus for the purposes of this video. Those upgrades don't help you, or like those bonuses don't help you at all if you're, playing Regicide Fortress and are just trying to boom or something like that. Like it's just not an eco bonus. Malay might surprise some people, but S tier. Malay just have an insane eco. All you have on land maps is that you have your aging up 66% faster. That's all you need. If you're going for like a fast council on arena, you're looking at around a 5 villager advantage. That is absolutely insane. Yeah, just insanely good eco with the civ. Very, very flexible. You can click up later to feudal age, like on 30, 31 pop, and still have a super competitive castle age time. Probably a little bit underrated because Malay are kind of a more difficult civ to play. Your starts are a bit weirder. Your army comp might not be the most obvious thing in the world, but especially at higher levels, there's a reason that Malay are considered a top tier arena civ, and then one of the reasons for that is just super insane eco. Also, if you guys, I'm sure most of you watched Hidden Cup, Malay were seen very commonly on whatever that map was that was like, it was kind of like Hideout, but then you had the pathway in the middle. I forget the name of it, but Malay were very common on there, and that is, again, because they have such an insane eco, and other reasons as well. Malians, solid A tier. You get all of your wood buildings. The wood cost of all your buildings is 15% less, and you get the free gold mining upgrade. Gold mining, not really the most important thing in the world when it comes to having a good eco, but it is still there, and it is still helpful. There are, like, you need gold to age up, and then you need gold to do a lot of different things in the game, really sort of no matter what strategy you're going for. Chances are you need gold for something, much more so than stone. I mean, you see in a ton of top-level games just players not even mining stone until late game, which really triggers me because then they like die to being slower to Imperial Age, but that is a different story. Gold, obviously, you need it for everything pretty much. And even then, on top of it, you have your wood cost on your buildings cheaper. Just a very, very strong economy with the civ. It's certainly one of the selling points of Mali. It's just that and having a broad tech tree, but they also have like more military bonuses than Chinese. Mayans, A tier. 2 eco bonuses. One is that you start with an extra villager, but also minus 50 food, and then your resources last 15% longer. That bonus is most useful in early game when it comes to your sheep and boar and deer all lasting longer. You get more food out of them. And that's very, very helpful for sure. And then the extra villager is nice. It's still not quite S tier, I would say, because it doesn't help you much in the mid-game. Also, your farms are very, very slightly slower. It's not a big deal. It's like 2%. Like, the difference in like the slowerness of farmers you get with Mayans is comparable to the fasterness of farmers you get with Berbers. I speak English as my native language, by the way. But yeah, Mayans, very, very strong eco. Not really quite something I could justify putting in S tier, but still quite good. Mongols, B tier. I think you can probably think of it in a similar fashion to Lithuanians, but you also have the added benefit of any map with a bunch of hunt. You instantly become like super, super insane when it comes to that food income. Obviously, you get the hunt. The hunt! working 40% faster. It's just really, really strong in early game, but then of course, once the map runs out of hunt, then you suddenly have no eco bonus. It's the classic power curve of Mongols where, you're super strong early on, and then you have not a whole lot going for you in the mid game, and then you become super strong again in the late game. Just a decent B tier economy, in my opinion. Persians, A tier. If you're talking hybrid maps or like Nomad, then you become S tier. But land maps, A tier for sure. Start with plus 50 food and wood. Just extra resources. Never going to say no to that, especially when they come at the start of the game. And then, of course, your town centers and then docks on water maps. But for our purposes, town centers working faster in Feudal, Castle, and Imperial Age. Back when DE came out, it also worked faster in Dark Age, but unfortunately that was a little too far into the realm of being overpowered. But still, you have one of the strongest, booms in the game. However, it's not quite S tier because you can get more villagers out more quickly, but it still takes a little while for that, the extra villagers to sort of pay for themselves. And it can actually be a little difficult to sustain constant villager production in mid-game if you're on like 3 TCs, because you need more food income to sustain the, town center production. Also, you research Castle Age and Imperial Age a little bit faster. The faster working town centers does apply to that. So certainly very strong A tier, probably pushing S tier, but I still don't think you can quite justify that. It's close though. Portuguese, C tier. Used to be D tier, but now because they have technologies research a little bit faster, I can't really justify putting that in D tier. Especially because techs like wheelbarrow and handcart do take quite a while to research normally. And then you have the Feitoria in late game, and that's kind of its own beast. If you're talking like islands, then they become like super mega turbo S tier, but Feitoria is not something you're going to be seeing in almost every game with Portuguese. Really only seeing it in, water maps, which we're not even concerned about with this video, but then even on maps like Arena, if you go like Fast Imp, then you can drop Feitorias as a sort of substitute for your economy. And it's, super nice and like super mega late game, but, every game goes to Dark Age for, your Mongols and Lithuanians. 2% of games go to the, degree of post-imp where these Feitorias are relevant. Okay, maybe a little bit more than 2%, but like no more than 10%. Saracens, B tier. You have your market trade only 5%, or at least your initial market difference is only 5%, whereas the default for a civilization is 30%. And also the markets are cheaper. They only cost 75 wood as opposed to 175 wood. Yeah, that's nice. You can really balance your economy quite easily with the civilization. You can also go for some very quick Castle Age times. It's very common these days. Playing Saracens, you drop a market mid-feudal age, you sell your starting 200 stone, you get a bunch of gold for that, and then use that to buy food for your quick Castle Age time. And, even in mid-game, it can help balance your eco a little bit, so you can make sure you have the resources of what you need, where you need them. But you're still not getting that much value out of it, and I can't really justify putting it any higher than B tier, because that's also your only eco bonus. Slavs. Another strong A tier civ. The faster working farmers, super, super good. It's not quite as good as Khmer, though. Okay, so like the farming bonus for Slavs and the farming bonus for Khmer are quite similar in terms of how good they are. But if you compare like the second eco bonus, Slavs, your barracks and archery ranges and stables and stuff give you 5 pop space. That's nice and all. The Khmer not needing to build buildings to unlock other buildings or whatever, that's way, way better. I mean, obviously one is a team bonus, but yeah, Slavs, definitely very strong A tier, but not quite at that S tier level. Spanish, C tier. All you have is your builders work faster, and also your trade is way better in late game, and that's like, it's super, super good. Although not quite as good as it used to be back in AOC. It was nerfed a little bit, but I think it's also just the meta has become way more aggressive in the current day than back in AOC times. But even so, that's just a late game team game thing. Your faster working builders, it is nice. It saves you time, especially when it comes to town centers. It's very nice on nomad starts. You can usually become like a villager ahead with the power of Spanish. But yeah, still nothing more than C tier. Just a nice little boost to your eco like all of these C tier civs, nothing more than that. Tatars. B tier. Maybe you could make an argument for A tier, but I don't really think it's quite that good anymore. I mean, it's still good, right? You have your sheep last 50% longer. It makes you much more easily able to afford a fast castle age, like you're not going to be stuck for food all that often. But you don't really get the food in faster. Then, of course, in castle age, you get 2 free sheepers per extra town center. And that's nice for sure. It's a nice eco bonus, but it's nothing that's too persistent over the course of the game, nor does it give you that huge a power spike. It's a nice little bonus for early and mid game, but not anything that's going to be too overwhelming over the longer course of a game. Teutons, A tier. Your farms are pretty darn cheap. They're 38 food or something like that, or 38 wood for a farm. Yeah, you can drop down farms for days with this civilization. It's very, very handy to have. Just a really great booming bonus, right? That's really all they have as far as eco bonuses go, but that's really all you need to be an A tier. Super, super strong boom, very easy to amass tons of farmers, gives you lots of food where you can make more villagers to make more farms and that whole sort of thing. Turks, C tier. Again, maybe you could say D tier because gold doesn't help you boom, but gold is used in like literally every strategy at some point, and it's also needed to click up to the next age, at least, Castle Age and Imperial Age, so I'm gonna be generous and put them in C tier, because it is still very nice. Regardless of what sort of military composition you're going for with Turks, it's going to involve gold something, unless you're going like mass hussar or light cav, but still, I think it's enough of a bonus to count for C tier. It's still quite nice. Vietnamese. I'm gonna put them in B tier. I don't think it's quite good enough for an A tier eco bonus. Again, maybe if you wanted to put Vietnamese in A tier, I wouldn't think you're that crazy. But the limiting factor in terms of getting early eco upgrades is not usually wood, it's food, as we'll get to shortly. But it's still nice, it still saves you wood, and it's still easier to afford your eco upgrades. Notably, guys, it does affect wheelbarrow and handcart, as well as gill nets. So that's definitely quite nice, but not something that I really think quite makes it into A tier. And as far as the civs that are actually in this tier list, Vikings, S tier, surprise to literally no one, probably the single best eco in the game. The other S tier civs can certainly give them a run for their money, but yeah, free wheelbarrow and handcart. Turns out that's really good, guys. Vikings, super insane eco. But, of course, we have 2 more civs to place, but I'm going to need to do some Ornlu editing magic to very poorly paste in their civ icons, so just give me 1 second for that. Alright, so with the power of crappy Ornlu editing magic, I placed Burgundians and Sicilians onto the tier list. So first, Burgundians here, S tier. Easily the civ is absolutely insane economically, at least as of recording. You have your eco upgrades available 1 age earlier and cost minus 50% food. Remember when I said about Vietnamese that the limiting factor of eco upgrades early on is usually food and not wood? Yeah, Burgundians got that covered, and they get to be an age earlier, and oh wait, your relics also generate food, and oh wait, you also can have your farms generate gold in late game, which is also super, super good. Easy S tier. Again, you need a civ. You need another S tier civ economically to really be able to compete with that. And then finally, we have the Sicilians. B tier, I think. Pretty solid eco. You have your town centers built 100% faster. No, that does not help you on Nomad anymore. But still, you can get those TCs up in mid-game super, super fast. And it's certainly very nice to have. And then you also have your farms providing double the food bonus, and that just means you can have so much staying power. It's like you never have to reseed your farms ever, man. Obviously you do at some point, but still a very, very nice long-term eco bonus. The problem is that you need to get to mid-game for these bonuses to really matter, and in my opinion, you need if a good eco bonus is going to help you a bit faster than that. But still, it's pretty decent. And yeah, that's going to be the eco tier list, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely leave a like if you did. And yeah, definitely let me know what you also think about your own eco bonus tier list for land maps. You know, for once in my life, I'm actually pretty happy with not rambling on for hours and hours and hours, so that's quite nice. But again, thank you all so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all next time.